Even though this is really simple, if you want a different style of box, wait to the end of the video. I have something there that you might like. The first step is to get your 4 lengths for your box. I'm gonna go ahead and measure 7 inches from my guide to my table saw blade. Now it doesn't have to be exact because I'm going to cut 45-degree angles eventually, just somewhere in the ballpark. Now that we have our board stripped to 7 inches, I need to cut the sides. I'm gonna have 2 different sizes, one for the width and one for the length. I'm gonna go 6 inches for the width and 10 inches for the length. Should probably plug the saw in first. All right, that's better. Now I could just measure 6 inches again using my tape, but what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna use my pre-cut one as a guide. So I'm gonna butt it up, make sure they're perfect, take my pencil, scribe it down. Now that we have our width, I'm gonna cut 10 inches for the length. Now before we go and cut the 45-degree angles, you really need to make sure that these are the exact same size. So if you take your finger and you butt it up, I can tell that I have a little bit of a lip, so I'm just gonna go ahead, keep it together. Come down like so, and you have 2 perfect pieces. Now that we have our pieces, we have to cut our 45s. So this is our 6-inch piece. It goes 6 inches across here. These, the 7-inch pieces we cut earlier, are the same height. So we want to angle cut the height of it. We're going to change the blade to 45 degrees. Now that we have our 45 cut, all you're going to do is flip it over and run it through again. Set it down, and we're gonna do the other piece. Now we have our 2 long sides cut. We're gonna do the same thing for our 6-inch pieces. Now just remember, make sure you're cutting the right side. So if I stand up my piece, the angle I'm cutting should be the same height. So that's how we know we're cutting the right one. Now that we have our 45s cut, we have to add dados for the plywood to sit into for the lid in the bottom. This is a super easy step because we only have to adjust the guide 1 time. So this is how you do it. You're gonna wanna raise your table saw blade to about half the height of your piece of wood. Once that's done, you want to make sure that your grooves are cut perpendicular, could not think of that word, perpendicular with your 45s. So your grooves, perpendicular. Yeah, you want to make sure that you're cutting them perpendicular with your 45-degree angle. So your groove will go that way. Now I don't have a preference as to how far in you should go or how close you should be to the edge. All I kind of do is I adjust my table saw guide. Looks like I got about half of an inch. Once you have that clamped in, all you're gonna do is run it through once, flip it around, and run it through again. We're gonna do that to all 4 pieces. Now that we have our grooves cut, I can check to see if my plywood would fit. So what I have here is a small scrap of plywood that I'm going to be using, same thickness, 1/8 inch. And I'm gonna go ahead and see if it'll fit in my grooves. Now I knew it wasn't going to fit, but I wanted to show you. Now the way to fix this, simply put your piece back up against. It should go through still. However, to make a bigger dado, we're going to just slightly move our track just in a bit. Now, as you can see, this is the dado we've ran through a couple times. This is our first one. We're going to take our practice strip, and that one slides right in. Now we're going to take all of our other pieces, and we're going to run them through. Now that we have our dados in, we have to cut this piece of plywood to the right width and length. To find the right width and length, you're going to measure from the very end of the dado to get the width, and the same thing for the length. So for our length, we have 8 3/4 inches, and our width is going to be 5 inches. So now that we have that, we are going to measure 5 inches for the width. Five inches for the width. We're gonna run one through and then cut it to 8 3/4. I already taped this one down, but you're just gonna alternate them. So this one is gonna go here. So when this goes up, like that, our plywood should slide in like that. So that slides in there, that slides in there. And the final piece to see if it fits, just like so. All right. And then once you're happy with the fit, you can go ahead and disassemble it. And then we're gonna add glue and fill them in. And now we wait. Okay, so to add my splines, I don't have a jig. So what I do instead is I draw a 45-degree angle on one of the corners. I'm just gonna go ahead and slide this up until my table saw blade hits that line, just like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add in the back a 2x4 stop right there. So when my board goes up, it'll hit that and it won't go any further. Clamp that down there. Now I can still move the guide, and that's because I have to line up where I want these splines to be. And so I'm actually gonna go about 1/4 inch all the way, lock it in. Now after I make my pass through, I'm just gonna go ahead, lift it up, do the same thing, and because my block is here, I'll be able to get the same cut on all the angles. All right, now that we have our first spline cut, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our second one about an inch down, so right about there. Actually remove the tape that the splines are going to be going over. You don't have to do this. You can remove these once your splines are in if you wanted to, but I like to take them off. Oh yeah. Now I went ahead and I cut all of these little strips of cedar. These are just some leftover splines that I had laying around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some glue. I'm going to slide those in, let it dry, come back, cut it off. Now this may surprise some of you, probably not, but I have never added splines before to a project. If I was to do this over, I would add thicker splines. Why? Well, because you can see here, when I cut through them, they chip off. Now, if you're more advanced and you understand why this is happening, leave it in the comment below because I would love to learn more and be better in the next one. And the reason I started this YouTube channel was because I figured there were people out there like me who are beginners who would enjoy to see the process of becoming better. And if you're a beginner like me or even advanced and you want to see some awesome builds that are pretty easy, even I can do it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. All right, let's fill these in. That's better. This was super easy to make, but if you were looking for a different style of box that uses hinges, go ahead and click the video right here.